all of them, okay. Oh.
Oh, there you are.
Me.
So, Sam.
Thank you. How are you? Good, how are you?
Scott.
It's a big panel.
Kara.
Yes, that's me.
Alexander Robert Gordon.
Oh, how does it work? That's great. Fantastic. Yeah. The AG is one of our honorary directors, and Alexander usually attends our meetings. So
The right
Great.
is backward is
Nice
the
to meet
left.
you.
Okay, I don't think I could figure that out.
Okay.
Oh, no.
I'll be right behind you. Yeah, Dave.
Thanks for you.
Sure. Sit right in the front, don't you? I did a little bit of research just about the various individuals here today, and I was looking. I didn't look too much into your organization, but saw a little bit about it, and it sounds really great.
Yeah, no, I'm sure everybody's there. I'm based in New York, but we have like California staff and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So
Did you
sure
fly?
there's-
Oh, okay.
It's just like literally.
Oh, cool. Good.
Do you live in Sacramento or San Francisco?
I live here in Sacramento. Yeah. Based out of the offices here, but we have a lot of our board meetings in the city.
When she gets back, just turn both of them off.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go till. Okay. So we're back, and thank you very much. This next panel, Civics and Education. And we heard a lot about education, so I'm so glad we're getting ready to start this next panel. And we'll start with Justice Judith McConnell, who's the co-chair of the California Task Force on K through 12, and then I think with her, Superintendent David Gordon, who's also the other co-chair with the Task Force on K through 12 civic learning.
Yes, and thank you very much, Assemblymember Eggman, for establishing this committee and organizing this hearing on what I consider and all of us consider a very important topic. It has been my honor to lead the effort by Chief Justice Tani Kantil-Sakue to improve civic education in our public schools, K through 12. And with me, as you mentioned, our Superintendent Dave Gordon, who co-chaired the Task Force on Civic Learning, but I also have Judge Frank Damrell here. These are members of the Power of Democracy Steering Committee, which is leading the effort to implement the recommendations. Judge Danelle Taha, currently the Dean of Pepperdine Law School. Dr. Michelle Herzog, who is with the LA County Department of Education. Alice Collins, who's the principal attorney for the, where's Alice? Still hiding in the back? And she's a principal attorney for the Chief Justice, and Debbie Ginzer, who's staff for the Judicial Council. And we are very honored to be here and to have an opportunity to address you and your colleagues. We have found, why are we interested? Why does the judicial branch care? I'm elected like you. In California, we are elected. And this issue is important to the judicial branch because we deal on a daily basis with the products of our public education. Thank you, Dave. I'm not good at this technology. Actually, I want to be at this one. Oh, it's not up. We depend on an educated citizenry. They come in as jurors, litigants. I think you understand why this is important to us. They vote for us without any understanding of the branch of the third branch of government. And we can't address the many challenges that are faced by our state without an educated citizenry, and we need to change course. And the Chief Justice convened the Power of Democracy Steering Committee to see what we could do to address this gap. So we understand the judicial branch is one of the 3 branches of government, but it's small, and we know that what we can do is take a collaborative approach and take a leadership approach, and we have joined hands with many organizations, some of whom are listed on the slide. And when you take a look, and I hope you will take a look at the Power of Democracy at the Civic Learning Task Force report, you'll see that we engaged all of the major statewide civic learning organizations in this effort. We also established, the Chief Justice established a special partnership with Superintendent of Public Instruction Tom Torlakson and with educators throughout the state. One of the early efforts that we had was to establish a Civic Learning Award. There's so much that needs to be done to change civic education, but we wanted to start by recognizing schools that are already doing a very good job. And by the way, we have award applications for anyone in the room who knows of a school that has a good civic learning program. And we encourage people to apply for this award. It's a great way to celebrate schools that are doing a good job. The Chief Justice personally visits the top 3 schools. We got her out to Brawley last year. I don't think she knew that you could drive that far east in California and still be in California from San Diego. But we also have Court of Appeal judges and trial court judges honoring the schools at all levels. The Chief Justice, and these are some pictures, and in fact, the young woman who's on the cover of our task force is from Brawley and now goes to Cal State San Marcos. We have been honoring and inspiring people throughout the state. But what is of particular importance is the Task Force on Civic Learning that I think you're going to hear about, and the 6 pilot counties that we've adopted. And Dave Gordon, who's my colleague and co-chair of the task force, is going to highlight the findings and the work of the task force.
Thank you, Chair, again for inviting us here. And from the education side, and I want to stress what a collaborative effort this has been between the judicial branch, the education system, and many other stakeholders who served on our task force. It was a very diverse, very collaborative group, and that's on purpose because we are in it for the long haul. Justice McConnell has said over and over, this is not a report that we want to sit on a shelf. It's something that we want to give life to in the schools, in the communities, and those are very much tied together. So there's no quick fixes, as I think you've heard over and over this morning. It's a big system. We have 6.2 million students. If we were a state, the student population of California would be the state of Washington. That's about how many people they have. And finally, we're now a local control system. Thanks to the local control funding formula, there are now local control accountability plans, which are really controlling of what the districts are doing. There are no more dicta from on high, no more state mandates, no more categorical programs. So we have to work at the local level and work effectively. So you can see here the major recommendations from the task force are integrating civic learning into the curriculum, standards, frameworks, professional learning, teacher training, teacher development is so important, and we've not stressed it nearly enough in our system. We've not funded it adequately because the teacher is at the heart of the matter in this, because in trying to reach students, one of the big issues here is pouring the information into their heads is not going to solve the problem that we have. We have to reach their hearts as well, and we have to give them a feeling of why it's important to get involved, not just with voting, not just with your community, but with our system of government and the ethics that attach to it. So it's a battle for their hearts, and particularly where our most disadvantaged kids are least likely to receive exposure to a good civic education And that's one of our major priorities, to make sure we penetrate throughout the entire school. An articulated sequence K-12, this is not just a high school issue. We've got to start in the elementary grades. Linking schools and community, I'll touch on that a little more later. Equal access, I just mentioned, to high-quality civic learning, and integrating civic learning into assessments and these local control accountability plans. And most of the assessments that we're envisioning will have to be local assessments, because we're not interested in these multiple choice tests. Florida has a multiple choice test which they give at the 7th grade. So after you've completed the 7th grade multiple choice test, then what? You passed or you didn't pass. That's not what we're about. What we're about is, again, getting to the hearts of our students and touching them in ways with hands-on approaches, hands-on kinds of projects. For implementation of the task force, as Justice McConnell mentioned, we have the Power of Democracy Committee, and one of their major initiatives is a pilot program in 6 counties, and you see the counties up there, and I'll just highlight here in Sacramento. We based this with a community steering committee which is led by 3 key leaders: a business leader, a leader from the judiciary, and a leader from the education sector. And these 3 leaders have gone out and met personally with all of the superintendents in the county, and they're going one by one to all of the school boards, asking them to pass resolutions in support of civic education activities, which will differ from district to district, but that's okay. The goal is to get them to commit to making sure all of their students are touched by a high-quality civic education program. So,
before you leave this, though, I think you've mentioned that we've been working on a state level. Sorry, we've been working together for so long. We to get into the English language arts and English language. What's the D stand for? Development. All the lingo escapes me, to get civic learning into English language arts framework and standards. So we've been making changes throughout so that there are tools available for all these local school districts to make the kinds of changes that need to be made.
And you both stress that this has been a real collaborative process. So what has been the reaction on the school side?
Huge support. Enthusiasm has been overwhelming. In Butte County, every school district in the county has adopted a civic learning resolution. In San Diego, the 2nd largest school district in the state, they not only adopted a resolution, they have somebody full-time working on their implementation plan.
The 2 of us just gave a presentation last Friday at the California School Boards Association conference, and there was overwhelming response from the school board members. This is on their radar, and they are eager to do something. And the question is, and that's why in Sacramento we've been going district to district, sitting down, spending the time with the superintendents and the boards. And we also are fortunate to have a grant from the Bechtel Foundation here in Sacramento. So we have 12 schools which are piloting what we call Action Civics, and without going into the details, it's about making sure students have hands-on opportunities to engage with government agencies, elected leaders like yourself. We had a showcase workshop in the summer where we brought people in to talk to all of the teachers from the school. Tara was there. So we know this can be done. And it's just a question. The scale of the system means we have to stick with this, and we are committed to doing that. And we are so happy that you have convened this committee, and we look forward to working with you and reporting back to you as we move forward.
Do you know the percentage of high schools in California that have some kind of civics course?
Well, it's required.
Well, it's required, but I mean that.
A 6, so they have to have it, but unfortunately many schools offer government in the senior year 2nd semester. And I don't know if you remember the senior year 2nd semester. If they're still in school, they really are focused on other things besides government. So we want this to be part of their education
all the way through,
K
integrated
through 12, and it can be and incorporated into all aspects of their education, even math. I think we tried to get some into the math standards. So we're working on now the history social science framework. So change is happening. It's a perfect time for this kind of change. And it dropped off the radar with teaching to the test. Now we've got to get it back on the radar, so students are properly educated about their democracy.
That's great. And I love jury duty.
I did too. I was on a jury. Wasn't that great?
I love it.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Let's go with Tara Thorne.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I'm Tara Thorne, and I'm the director of the LegiSchool Project, which is a civic education collaboration between Sac State and the state legislature. I'm honored to be speaking here today and to be sitting upon a panel of such esteemed people in the civic engagement field, so thank you for having me. In my testimony, I would really like to focus on the role of schools in cultivating interest and excitement for civic participation among California youth. Now, I'm not a practitioner, and I'm also not an academic, so I'm going to be using mostly my experience with LegiSchool to illustrate some of these ideas. And our mission is to engage students in matters of public policy and government in California. Before I go into that, though, I really do want to emphasize the importance of schools and civic learning. Our educational system, both in California and around the country, has been shifting over time. As you know, policy reform efforts like No Child Left Behind, Race to the Top, and Common Core have centered on improving academic outcomes for students and really have emphasized college and career readiness. And I hope that California is ready to now also consider citizenship readiness with our curriculum in our schools, to go beyond the fundamentals that we consider reading, math, science, and English, and to train students to be knowledgeable about the world around them, to think critically about the past and present, and to wonder in great awe about the possibilities of the future. This upcoming generation faces complex and unique policy challenges that we can only dream of right now, and it is more important than ever that students leaving high school have a basic understanding of public issues and have the ability to participate fully in our political process. In order to do this, they need to think critically, they need to exercise sound judgment, and they need to care about the rights and the welfare of their fellow citizens. And so I have some examples that I think illustrate the importance of this. Recently, LegiSchool did a statewide essay contest, and we asked students, why aren't young people participating in government? And we prompted students to not only consider why they aren't participating, but also what can we do to help increase participation among our youth. I received almost 450 essays from around the state, including some from down in Brawley, as well as up in the North State to Reading, all over the state. And almost every single essay said the need is civic education. They don't feel prepared, and they feel overwhelmed by the process. And I think that's a real disservice to the students in our state. Rather than speaking for them, I want to highlight some of their own words. One student from Kearney International Business School said, I 100% believe that getting students more involved with government in high school is important and will improve voter turnout. When our government teacher would show the presidential debates, students actually paid attention and enjoyed it. Many of my peers didn't think they would enjoy politics, but after the debate, they wanted to take time out of their day to research it for themselves. Students spend the majority of their time and their waking hours in a classroom, so I think it's important that we leverage the academic setting to teach these students not just the fundamentals of how government works, but also how to be active and engaged citizens in the world. So how do we do that? The big $100 million question? I don't know. But from my experience, I believe there are two elements that are really critical in fostering civic participation in students, and that is exposure and practice. Let me first start with the concept of exposure. Justice Kennedy stated that every citizen, not just government officials, has the duty to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, but you cannot preserve what you have not studied, you cannot protect what you do not know, or comprehend, and you cannot defend what you do not know. What a simple but eloquent way to emphasize how very important learning about government institutions can be. But in my mind, teaching the mechanisms, it's not enough. Although certainly understanding what each branch of government does is important, why we have our system of government is equally important. Many educators fall prey to teaching the process of government without the politics. But teaching the fundamentals of democracy in this way can be boring. And it can do little to inspire lifelong learning among our students. Illustrating the fundamentals of government instead by connecting it with today's top policy issues, that kind of exposure can bring democracy to life, making it relevant, relatable, and exciting. Let me give you an example of one way LegiSchool does this. Our flagship program are our town hall meetings, which we host 3 times a year here in the state capitol. These meetings bring students from around the state together to talk about relevant policy topics with lawmakers like you and other experts in the field. We create curriculum guides that we distribute to the teachers before they come to these meetings. These guides are nonpartisan, but they don't stray away from the politics that are involved in these issues, and we cover some very divisive issues. Our last town hall meeting was on the topic of minimum wage, and we brought senators and assembly members in to talk to the students about why this is an important topic. We brought students from the Central Valley, the North State, the Bay Area, and Sacramento all to attend this one meeting on the minimum wage. And our curriculum guide covered not just the basics, but why people are for and against it. It got the students thinking about it deeply. It breathed life into economic concepts like inflation, supply, and demand that can be so boring when you read them just in a textbook. Because of this, students likely who would have never cared about this topic began to care. There was a group of students who arrived at our town hall, and they clearly didn't want to be there. One student was asleep before the town hall and only woke up once the microphone rang and it started to happen. But as the town hall unfolded and students asked questions about income inequality, impact on small business, and cost to consumers, these students began to pay attention. They stayed awake. They were engaged. And though none of them actually asked a question, the sheer exposure to their peers' questions was clearly having an impact. And at the end of the day, as I was going through my Twitter feed, I saw a tweet from one of them that said, "LegiSchool thing was kind of dope, TBH," which means to be honest. And I consider that a civics victory. When you pique student interest by exposing them to real-world issues, government becomes much more interesting and accessible, and lessons can become much more impactful. It sparks a lifelong interest in learning among our students, not just in the moment, but in the future. At nearly every town hall, students end up asking, what can we do to make a difference? What actions can we take to either promote or even discourage the policy at hand? This is what civic participation is all about. By exposing these students to topics that they care about, they don't just learn about democracy, they're inspired to participate in it. And the beauty of LegiSchool town halls is not just that students get to think about these issues deeply, it's that students are given a platform to speak their minds and engage with adults on topics that they care about. Which brings me to my next point. Students need to practice democratic principles to effectively learn them. I'm not that old, but even I can barely remember what I learned in my U.S. government class my senior year. But I do remember participating in student elections. I remember the taboo discussion my English teacher had after the Columbine shootings in 1999 about gun control. I remember standing before my school board in Montana asking them to implement a school uniform policy because as a low-income student, I stood out in my Goodwill clothes. When students are given the tools they need to participate and the time to practice those tools, the impact can be incredible. LegiSchool does this through experiential learning, and I think this is a component that can be really key for our civics classes in California. Each summer we have students come to the Capitol and they learn about work in all 3 branches of state government. Through this experience, students are taking what they learn in a book and letting it come to life before their eyes. As an intern noted last year, I've gained a complete understanding of both the state and local government through the program that no textbook could ever offer. Practice doesn't have to come from such an intensive experience like the internship I offer. Practice can be brought into the classroom in simple ways, such as project-based learning, Socratic circles, mock elections, and mock trials. They can be used outside the classroom through participation in local politics. Regardless of where it comes from, practice is what lets students get their feet wet in the world of democracy. In my essay contest, I received a lot of essays from Brawley High School, who won an award through the Chief Justice's Award Program. And these students were some of the most passionate about the need for youth political participation. And they cited their teacher as their inspiration, not because of the textbook he used, or the teaching methods, or the curriculum. It's because he made them go to a city council meeting where the decision to fund the new high school gym was being discussed. And many students spoke at that meeting. Giving his students an active hand in shaping their government was a lesson that they will remember long after Pythagorean's theorem has left their brain. Unfortunately, the skills students gain through this meaningful practice are not testable in a classroom. And as a result, they often fall to a level of lesser importance where time is limited and classrooms and teachers have to fulfill competing demands among core competencies, which brings me to my concluding remarks. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor stated that the habits of civic education must be learned, and in my opinion, schools are an essential component. I'm a big fan of the Blueprint for Action from the California Task Force on K-12 civic learning. It provides an incredible roadmap for more robust civic participation and education in California. And in part, it says that one semester of government is simply not enough. It may teach you the mechanics of government, but if you want to inspire and engage citizenry, you must begin teaching civics in kindergarten. And it should be taught across subject matter areas. Our schools need to value civics first, and then incorporate it into assessments and accountability in a way that makes sense. And we need to give teachers the tools that will allow them to effectively incorporate it into their classrooms. It will take time and it will take money, and that is usually a huge deterrent. But if we want to encourage active participation, robust civic education is a necessary first step. Thank you for your time, and I'm grateful to be allowed to speak on this topic.